Well, here we are. I'm Tom Osman, and this is Whatever Comes Next. It's the podcast where I explore the world of underground and independent music making. You could also call it DIY music making. And as I guess most of you will probably be well aware, we've lost DIY Jesus. We've lost Steve Albini. And I do want to get on to talking about today's guest, a guest that is special for me for a couple of reasons. And the chronology or the sequence of this podcast is something that continues to get more and more confusing for me. And I'll explain what I mean by that. I've got 5 interviews that I've done for this podcast that I did before the current guest that I'm about to introduce that are waiting to be posted at some point. But I decided that I wanted to put this episode first. And it's partly because there is a connection for me personally between today's guest and Steve Albini, not because they really have any connection together, but because they are both sort of integral when it comes to the origins or even the precursor to this podcast. So, but anyway, before I ramble too much, let me introduce the guest. Today's guest is Fabien W. Furter, previous frontman of French sludge industrial experimental act Wheelfall, label owner of No Good to Anyone Productions, and current frontman of hardcore punk, death metal, 3-piece, Death Whore. I mean, technically they're death metal. They're like death metal with the hardcore punk spirit. Anyway, yeah, it is what it is. To explain why this is a particularly exciting episode for me and why I'm particularly excited about the fact that I spoke with Fabien, it's kind of necessary, or it makes sense, to talk about Steve Albini. And like I say, that's why I wanted to do this episode, release it now, with Steve Albini just having died a few days ago. Basically, I organized this interview, and then with just a day or two before the interview, the news came that Steve Albini had suddenly died. And so in the interview, we do talk a bit about Steve Albini, and part of the sort of context of talking about Steve Albini between me and Fabien is I told him a bit of the backstory of the podcast, which I've sort of brought up in different interviews, whether already published or not published. And I think I mentioned it somewhere in another introduction to one of these episodes, and I think I've written about it in Substack as well. But the kind of pre-story of this podcast is that I want to write a book. Or let's rephrase that. The pre-story to this podcast is that I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book about independent or DIY music making, not primarily from my own personal experience, although that is something that I intend to be a thread going through the story of the book, but more from talking with people in the DIY music world who have got valuable insights about various different elements of DIY music making, the things that need to be done, the kind of obstacles that need to be overcome, costs, resources, time that has to be expended, sort of, for me, an exploration to understand this world better, and then hopefully from that position to be able to put out a book that would be insightful both for people who are just interested in the topic, but also hopefully valuable for people who are actually already making music the DIY way, or people who want to do that. So how does that involve Steve Albini? Well, originally when I had the idea of this book, my thought was that I would talk to, let's say, for example, half a dozen people. They could be in any locations. They could be one in France. They could be one in LA. There could be one in Germany. There could be one in Switzerland. And I would talk to potentially band leaders, or I would talk to producers, or I would talk to record label owners. I'd try and find a varied cross-section that would still help me to sort of put a picture together in a coherent way. And another idea that I had is that through this exploration, through me talking with these different people and putting this picture together, putting this story together, putting this narrative together, that I would have my own personal journey of going to Chicago and recording with Steve Albini. So right at the beginning of the idea of the book, Steve Albini was right there in the center. I've never spoken to Steve Albini. I've never seen him play live. I've never been able to interview him. I wanted to interview him. I wanted to see him live. None of these things came to pass. So evidently, that part of the plan of the book, and which the podcast has kind of evolved out of, that part's never going to happen. But in the past days, and talking to various different people about Steve Albini, and sort of reflecting on how we all feel about the fact that he's gone, I think I've taken, I don't know if comfort is exactly the right word, but maybe there is an element of comfort, of feeling that Steve Albini, I think, was very generous in terms of wanting to share knowledge and insight and principles that he had so that other people could use them. He didn't have any interest in sort of jealously guarding anything. He wanted to be able to pass on what he had to give. And so in a way, despite the loss of him not being here anymore, I almost feel more motivated now about the podcast and more motivated about the book idea, because it's kind of like, in honor of Steve Albini, it has to be done. So anyway, how does that connect to Fabien? Well, when I originally had this idea that I would talk to a cross-section of different people, I, in my head, thought, okay, who might be relevant people that I could talk to? And initially my idea was I would actually go to them in person, and I would spend, maybe a week or two with them, and, kind of see firsthand the way that their involvement in DIY music making, or the DIY music world, really was for myself. And one of the people that I had in mind was Fabien. And part of the reason why I, in the last few years, went on to start doing a lot more writing for magazines and websites, interviewing bands, doing different reviews, and then ultimately starting this podcast, was that I decided that I couldn't just go ahead and write the book. Part of the thing was that I didn't want to just put out a self-published book. I wanted to actually have a publisher behind me. And the other part attached to that was that I thought, if I'm going to achieve that, then I need to have more legitimacy. I need to have more on my CV as a writer. And I also thought that in order to be able to get access to the people I wanted to talk to, I needed to have more on my CV as a writer. And I may have been correct about that. But what I've come to realize in the past weeks is that I'm now in a position that I am able to talk to a lot of the people that I want to talk to, Fabien being one of them. So it was kind of after I'd booked this interview with Fabien, before we actually talked, I sort of remembered this, and I went, hang on a minute. Fabien was one of the people that I initially decided would sort of be a centerpiece of the book, or could be a centerpiece of the book. And now I'm about to talk to him. So actually, what is in the way of me pursuing writing the book? And so you will, if you've listened to previous episodes, for example, if you've listened to the Neezy Dynamite episode, Neezy of Fox Medicine, we talk about this a bit, about the book idea. And there's another interview that is coming up that I'll put out in the next few weeks, where also we explicitly talk about the book idea. So it's started to become something that I am more actively telling people about, partly because I feel like it's becoming more of a reality, but also partly in a way to push myself to actually do it. Like, the more people I talk about this to, the more I actually have to do it. Anyway, that's a whole gigantic preamble. I guess I'm going to be editing that down once I've finished recording this. But let's get on to Fabien. I discovered Fabien through his previous band, Wheelfall. And unfortunately, I discovered them not long before they broke up. So this would have been, I think, about 2018, 2019. I discovered them through the song Violence is Seduction from their second last album, The Atrocity Report. And I was immediately taken by this music. And then they put out what would end up being their final album, which I enjoyed a lot, A Spectre is Haunting the World. And I reviewed it, and I then went back to listen to their previous albums. And the album that they put out before the Atrocity Report was an album called Glasrew Point. And I don't want to go on too much about this album because I go on about it in the interview, but this is one of my favorite metal albums. And I also don't want to hype it up too much. But yeah, for me, it is really a great album. And what I would say to anyone who's not familiar with it, if you are a fan of Neurosis and you don't know Glasrew Point, you must listen to Glasrew Point. I strongly believe anybody who is a fan of Neurosis will love this album. And I'm not saying that it's like reducible to Neurosis, but one of the things that I love about Neurosis at their best is this sense of the impending apocalypse. And that also goes back to a previous episode, I think episode number 10 with Prisoner. I think, with the guys from Prisoner that I spoke to, we shared our love of Neurosis, and I said to them that similarly, I felt like Prisoner captures some of that apocalyptic energy that Neurosis has. And so I would also say that if you like Prisoner, you will also love Wheelfall. And as I say, for me personally, especially Glasrew Point, although I think they have a lot of great material. Likewise, if you are familiar with Wheelfall, and that's why you're watching this episode, go back and listen to the Prisoner episode, and definitely check out Prisoner and their latest album, Putrid Obsolete, which I also love, as I say, for some of the same kind of reasons. So anyway, there's Wheelfall, or there was Wheelfall, and now there's Death Whore. And as well as Death Whore, Fabien's current band, who I discovered in the course of this interview, are actually working on their debut album. So the band has got 2 EPs out at the moment, the most recent being Total Teutonic Torso. And I'm going to play one of the tracks from that EP before the interview, because I would like people to hear what Fabien is doing right now, what he's done most recently, which I'm a big fan of. But I'm also, at the end of the interview, going to play one of the tracks from Glasrew Point, because I also really want people to hear that. So to get to the end of the interview, you can look forward to hearing one of the tracks. I think I know which one it's going to be, but I'm not going to say it now. I'm just going to decide for sure once I'm editing this all together. So we talk about Wheelfall, we talk about Death Whore, we also talk about Fabien's record label, No Good to Anyone Productions. And this is a fairly significant part of why I felt that Fabien would be a really great person to talk to for those original thoughts of the book. And really, in a sense, what the podcast is about now, that not only is he someone who is a DIY music maker, but he's also a DIY label owner. And that's a dimension that I'm really interested in exploring. So I feel like I have said more than enough, probably too much. But yeah, this is why I decided to put out this episode, because I wanted to give a little kind of tribute to Steve Albini, if that's the word for it. And because, as I say, for me, Fabien is really kind of integral to the whole origin of this podcast, just as Steve Albini is. And yeah, because we also talk about that in the interview. So if you would like to keep up to date with what's happening with Death Whore, the place where they're most active is at Death Whore Band on Instagram. They also have a website, deathwhoreband.com, and you can check them out on Bandcamp as well, deathwhore.bandcamp.com, where you can also buy the latest green vinyl pressing of Total Teutonic Torso, as well as some merch. Now, I didn't specifically ask Fabien this in the interview, but I suppose, probably all things being equal, it's better if you go to their website and you buy directly from them there, because I guess they'll get more of the proceeds. But I'm sure Fabien would not complain either way, whatever you go and purchase. I would also strongly recommend, if you are a fan of Neurosis, Prisoner, Nine Inch Nails, any kind of sludge metal, any kind of dark metal, do go and check out No Good to Anyone Productions. I, in the last few years, reviewed and interviewed as well some of the bands on the label, and they don't have a huge amount of releases, but it's very much a case of quality over quantity. There are several albums that they've put out. For example, the self-titled album by Bishop, who, like, I've no idea who the people are. I think I interviewed them. I've no idea who they are. Totally anonymous. I don't know of anything else they've done apart from this one album, but I absolutely love it. So I would recommend that as well. But anyway, that's what's coming up. And yeah, otherwise, wherever you are watching or listening to this, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Substack, please subscribe. Please give a 5-star rating. If it's on YouTube, please post a comment. Even if you want to say you hate me, I guess it's good for the algorithm. That's what people tend to say. And yeah, you can follow me on social media at Tom Osmond Sounds. You can check out what I'm doing musically at tomosmondsounds.com. I also have a bit of a blog there or a bit of a journal where I'm kind of keeping a record of what's going on with the current project that I have. And I feel like I'm probably forgetting something, but then again, as I say, I think I've said enough. So we're going to go straight into some deathcore. Then you can hear from Fabien. And then, as I say, at the very end, there's going to be some Wheelfall. So enjoy. Fabien.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Great too.
It's very cool to meet you in real time.
Yes, indeed. It's one of the first time I do this in English, so it's gonna be great.
I'm sure it'll be great. Yeah. Um, so I mean, I guess maybe to start, some people watching or listening will know you, they will know your music. Some people won't.
Mm,
I guess I can say I know you as former Wheelfall frontman,
yeah,
current Deathcore frontman, and
mm,
also No Good to Anyone Records label owner.
yeah.
Probably, I think it's fair to say that your main interest is in heavy music, in extreme music, maybe not always metal, but mostly something kind of in the world of metal. Is
uh,
that fair to
yeah,
say?
yeah, exactly. Um, you mentioned Willfall, Death War, and No Good to Anyone. I also played in Chaos Echoes for several years. I don't know if you know this band.
I don't. Tell me about this band.
Yeah, it was a band formed by the two brothers from an Russian band called Bloody Sign from Eastern France, death metal band, and they form Chaos Echoes uh, with a friend of theirs, and I joined them for the second album, I think, and it's kind of death metal, but really experimental side and instrumental. So we mixed jazz and death metal, uh, that kind of stuff.
So
uh,
so going back a little bit, because I
yeah.
know from listening to your different music and also what you just said there, you have like a range of influences.
Mm.
So what was like the first music that you really got passionate about?
Really, first kind of music I was passionate about it was classical music because I start cello at 5.
Wow.
So it was really young at the time, and I did school of music uh, to learn the cello and do some gig and stuff. The most part of my youth, and in the middle of college, I think I was really passionate about electrified music and punk music, everything that goes beyond the rules. Finally, it was really that because I was passionate about classical music, but I loved uh, contemporary music from 1900 and until now. So even in this music, there were some musicians who break the rules.
Yeah.
So and I like that. I like that thing that you can use this instrument, but you can do other things with that, and experimenting make other sounds that all the other things you listen, and I really like that. And when I discovered metal or hard rock metal, I kind of retrieve this feeling of breaking the rules. So it was a logical evolution for me to uh, to go there.
And after you made that evolution, did you keep something from the classical music? And do you think you still keep something from that now?
Yes, I think so because it's part of me now, and this classical music thing, I think it's we can listen to it in Willfall and Chaos Echoes. In Chaos Echoes, I didn't compose everything, so it was not the same. But in Willfall, because I compose 19% of it, I think in the double album Glasrew Point at the time, there are some tracks really directly inspired by classical composers. But I don't know if the listener will find that in these tracks. But I know that I took some influence there. So it's certain. Yes.
Well, talking about Glasrew Point, and
Yeah.
I don't want to embarrass you, but I personally think that Glasrew Point is a masterpiece.
Oh,
And I
thank
think
you.
it's like a lot of the music that I like,
Mm,
a lot of the music I really love is not well known. So like
yeah.
we've spoken before about Today is the
Oh,
Day, and
yes.
I'm sure we both love Today is the Day. And there's other bands like that probably 99.9% of people will never know about. But when I listen to Today is the Day, I'm like, this is the most incredible thing ever.
Mm,
Like, this is total genius. And
thank you.
I'd like I say, without embarrassing you, I think Glasrew Point is amazing. Like, I've been listening to it again just recently because the
Yeah.
interview was coming up, and I'm like, oh, I just love this so much. And so I want to ask you a couple of questions about the
Yeah.
album. Can you tell me a bit how you got to that point from this more kind of traditional sort of stoner doom
Yeah.
sound to where you went, okay, I'm going to make a double concept album, totally different style. Um, where did that all come from, and how did you then create this?
First, thank you a lot for these words. It really means something for me. So thank you again. Um, when we began Wheelfall with my best friends, and no, now again, uh, the lineup of Glasrew Point remains my best friends, and I think it was really important that we were a group of people that have confidence in each others, and we from Wheelfall to play stoner music. It was really the main goal. Uh, we uh, we met together, and we said we want to do some Caius Black Sabbath worship. It was like that, and we did an extended play and an album, and after that, it was like the we like to play this music, but we needed more. We were independent at the time, and we said to ourselves, we can do everything we want. Finally, so, just like that, and we were into movies too. And the main idea behind Glass Point was just if we made a movie with music and like an opera rock, like Quadrophenia by The Who, this kind of thing. And Quadrophenia was a double album too, so it's not innocent that I cite this album in particular. Um, and it was each time, what if we made this like a movie, and why not write something to accompany the tracks, and then we said to ourselves, we could write a novel in its entirely to accompany the album. So it was natural, and because it was something narrative, we had to play other genre of music, because um, we could not picture anger with stoner doom. Enfin, oh, I do. Oh, I say that. Um, I think stoner doom is really cool. I like this genre of music, but it's two or three emotions max. It's a very monolithic, and so we needed more. We need some electronic stuff and maybe some more metal stuff like death or black sort of chords of progression. So we did all we can to illustrate the novel in short.
So the idea of the
Yeah,
novel, because I know that you have this like it's in French. So like
yeah.
I wanted to
Mm.
get it, but I thought, well, I can't read any French, so it'll look nice, but I can't read it. So
Yeah.
did you actually have the whole story designed and then you made the
Yeah.
music, or did the two come together?
It was first the story and then the music because we wrote 11 pages I think of not storyboard but synopsis and we did okay that part is the first song, that part another song, etc etc and at the end of that we had the songs corresponding to the passage of the book and we sent that to another friend Blandine who wrote who really wrote a novel of out of our synopsis.
That's very cool. So you had the synopsis
Yeah,
to make the music around, and then when the music was there, then your friend turned the synopsis into a novel.
yeah. So it's a cycle
Yeah.
because when she wrote the novel, um, she had the demo of the songs, so she could adapt to what we composed, and we composed based of the on the synopsis. So it was a complete thing.
So thinking about the
Yeah.
change in style,
Mm.
so you've already mentioned that you had your earlier band where you were playing kind of, did you say like jazz metal?
Ah, it's not earlier. It was in 2015.
Ah, okay. So
So it was later later in my life.
right. Okay. So
Wheelfall was my
it was your first band.
yeah.
So it's like the way you describe it, you sort of say, oh, we were doing Stoner Doom and then we decided, well, we need to do a different style. You make it sound very easy. But
Mm.
when I listen to Glasrew Point, I think like it doesn't sound like you just decide like, oh, I'm just going to make an album that sounds like this. So was from a musical point of view, were there any like major challenges in terms of going, first of all, what do we want to play and how do we
Yeah.
want to play it?
Mm, we listened a lot of music, and I listened a lot of music, and at the time I was I still, but at the time really I was into Nine Inch Nails, uh, and it was a major influence. This guy alone doing some concept albums and releasing his own music. It was exactly what I wanted to do with Willfall for Glasrew Point. Not really before, but at Glasrew Point, I had this. It was disproportionate ambition, but we were young and why not? It was a why not thing. And I did not. I don't think I ever did. I ever think that in sort of challenges. I don't know. I think all was there already. Finally, it was just okay. Let's get that thing from this band and this and how can we make all of this our own and yes I don't know if there was a challenge really the whole thing was a challenge, of course, but I don't see this like a challenge. It was just an emulsion of thing. It was really good memories. I enjoyed a lot. Compose something really different that we did because there were no boundaries. So it was like if I put this instrumental track, ambient instrumental track in the album, no one can say oh you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
We we were alone. We were releasing our own record, so we had to do it. I would have regrets if we didn't take. I was gonna say risk, but it's not. It was not really a risk because we were it still is a small band. So
Yeah.
ouais.
Yeah, no, it does make sense.
Yeah.
So it's clear listening to what came after Glasrew Point. So
Mm,
both the atrocity reports,
yeah.
the next Wheelfall album, and then A Spectre is Haunting the World. And I know that Deathwhore came in sort of in parallel.
Yeah.
When did you start Deathwhore? Was that after the atrocity reports?
Yes. Long after, I think. I think it was just before the release of A Spectre Until the World. And at the time, like I said before, I was in college. I was very fond of the punk mentality of extreme music, and I think with this war, I really wanted to retrieve that sort of feeling, the freedom, the aggression, the punk stuff. Um, the punk stuff, I think we can hear that in Wheelfall, but it's a small part in the music, in the way we did the thing. It is pretty punk, I think. But with this war, I really wanted to recreate that feeling when I was young, I think, and and make something really punk in the music itself.
Mm.
And I think maybe I the end of Wheelfall, I begin to feel the end of Wheelfall and maybe uh, begin another thing for myself.
Mm.
So mm,
I was wondering to myself,
yeah.
okay, so you started Deathwhore
Mm,
sort of parallel to Wheelfall. So partly I was thinking, well, there's no reason why you can't have both bands
yeah.
at the same time. So then I started thinking about trying to imagine why you ended Wheelfall. And I wondered if part of it was kind of like psychologically you wanted to be able to say, this part is
Mm.
finished. And now I'm moving to a completely separate like phase of my life or phase of my music. Was there something in that? Like why you didn't just say, okay, Wheelfall is paused, why it
Mm.
had to be, it's done.
I think you're right. I definitely need to end Wheelfall at one time. After the last album, um, it was really something I needed to close. For Wheelfall at that time, the last album of Wheelfall is 99% me. It's just the drums. The drums were recorded by my best friend Nicolas, who play in Wheelfall from the beginning to until Glasrew Point. And Glasrew Point after Glasrew Point, and he came back for this album, sorry, and it was a band, Wheelfall at that time, but I was doing all thing by myself, so I was not really à l'aise in French.
Anyone French listening to this will know what that means.
Maybe it was not comfortable for me anymore to continue the project and do everything. And I was feeling that maybe I gave everything in Wheelfall, and it needed to stop. And when I talk about stopping Wheelfall with the other guy, they all were very comprehensive, and they understand why I needed this to stop. It was not a sad thing for me, not at all. It was just okay. That part is finished.
Yeah.
I feel that I need to go elsewhere. And the last album for me was a sort of it encapsulates, I think, everything I saw in Wheelfall at that time. It's not like Glasrew Point or Atrocity Reports, but it has the story, the multiple genres, and everything. And I'm really proud of that album. I'm really proud of Glasrew Point, because I don't think I will ever do this again. So well, I think I needed to go elsewhere at that time.
From what I can see and from what I understand, and from what you like told me in the last interview, and from what I've read elsewhere, it seems like you have been very interested in storytelling in music.
Yeah.
So Glasrew Point was a concept album. Atrocity Report, I think, is also a concept album.
Yeah.
A Spectre is Haunting the World is kind of a concept album as well. Is that something that you're still interested in, or do you feel now with deathcore you're like letting go of that and allowing things to be a bit more, I don't know what to say, but just like, yeah, less conceptual?
Yes. Deathcore is less conceptual in that part of thing, less narrative, I will say, because there is no story of, or the story I tell are between 1 minute and 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
I really like narrative music. It's I don't think I will have enough of this in my life, because I really think this is important. And even in deathcore, in more punk or hardcore or death metal bands, every song, I think, has to be narrative in a sort of way. It can be narrative in sort of can be narrative in terms of music, and less in terms of words. I think in deathcore we try to tell something, but not in the same way, and not in words or in concept, or I can say that the concept of deathcore is just small explosion of feelings.
What kind of feelings?
It's not an anger feelings like you could expect from a death metal band or with that kind of things. I think it's when I play in deathcore, what I like to do is just focus on the pleasure to write riffs and play them. And it's really about this. I like play guitar and I like play riffs and I like do some Slayerish riffing at the at the guitar, and it makes me happy, and the two others in the band too. So the feeling is let's be happy together making this music. So when the public, the audience see us on stage, we are smiling on stage because we are happy to do this kind of music, extremely loud with a lot of amplifiers and double bass, drum, etc., etc. It makes us very happy to do this. So we are not the anger machine that you could expect, I think. So in the lyrics, there are some lyrics about kind of political, like I did in Wheelfall, in the last part of Wheelfall, because I think I need to say some things sometimes. But in the lyrical stuff, we have something really satirical and ironic, I would say. And I like a major influence in the lyrical content of Death War is surprisingly, but is Morrissey from The Smiths.
I would never have guessed that.
Because I don't understand anything that Morrissey say nowadays
Yeah.
politically. It's not. I'm far opposite, but when I listen to the Smiths and what what he sing, I I am really passionate or envious
Uh-huh.
about the fact that he can say some things totally silly, but it works with the music and it is poetic in sort of way, but it's silly. It makes me laugh, and the song after is really sad and introspective, and
Yeah.
it still has its this irony
Yeah.
in these lyrics, and I absolutely love that about Morrissey, and I really love the Smiths. It is of my all-time favorite bands so far. So in this war, when I write some songs, I always think about that in the Smiths, and and I said to myself, okay, you can do this, you can do something, maybe a sentence or two really funny, really something funny um, or funny,
That's a
just
really,
funny.
really cool, a really,
Yeah,
really cool insight. I really appreciate that.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know what you mean about Morrissey. He really does have some great lyrics. Like
Mm.
one of my favorite songs in terms of lyrics is actually from his solo albums. Every Day is Like Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Every time I listen to that song, it makes me
Mm-mm.
laugh.
Yes, yes. Uh, I really like this one too. Yeah, in one the Smith album, a song called "Frankly, Mr." What that name? It's oh, I don't remember, but yes, I like this thing. It's too much. It's too much emotion. Like you listen to his lyrics and you say, "Oh, Morrissey, please."
Yeah. Just relax.
And I uh, I I really like this. I really like this,
Yeah.
and I think I want something like this for a certain song of this war. So there is the aggressive stuff, the horror movie B movies stuff,
Hmm.
because I really into this too. So and kind of mixed all of this to maybe this war. It's is a band comparable to B movies of the 80s,
Hmm.
with all the extremities, all the punk things to do something that shock, but also make think about something of the society, but
Yeah,
in a very entertaining way.
absolutely. Yeah. No,
So
I have a love for a lot of that kind of 80s
mm,
horror movie style where, like you say, it's like for a lot of people, it's going to be like too disgusting.
yeah,
But actually, a lot of the time, there's quite intelligent social commentary and
mm,
also humor. And to have all of that together can be
yeah,
very satisfying.
absolutely. And so I think this war is that exactly in that way of thinking music.
And you know, what you said about having fun on stage
Yeah.
actually totally makes sense to me. Do you know the band Prisoner? American kind of industrial metal band. They had an album out quite recently called Putrid Obsolete. I'm pretty sure it's the kind of
Mm.
thing that you would like if you don't
Yeah.
know them.
I
But
don't know them, I think.
I interviewed them recently and I was asking them a question in that area. Like, I was kind of like, your music is so intense and it sounds like you're kind of screaming about the world burning.
Mm.
You know, where's the fun? Like, where do you have a laugh? And they said, oh, when we're on stage, like every time we're together with the music, we're so happy. We're just on stage and we're smiling. It's so enjoyable for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you said that, I thought, okay, it does actually
Mm-mm.
make sense.
Yes. I will listen to them. I like this this description of the music, but I understand completely this. We are on stage. We have to like what we do. I think
Yeah,
in order to the audience like us, I think we have to like ourselves.
makes sense.
So it makes sense if it.
So I want to get into talking a bit about, well, I want to talk about the label, but first of
Yeah.
all, I wanted to ask you um, something else about deathcore, but kind of moving
Mm,
away from the music and getting into like the non-musical side of things. So
okay.
you've got these two EPs, the
Mm,
most recent being Total Teutonic Torso, and you've recently put out this special version of it. Let's say you've put it out in vinyl.
mm,
It's this cool green vinyl, and you've got this merch that goes with it as well, with all these cool designs.
yeah.
And I don't remember if it was from our interview or reading elsewhere, but you said that you're really interested in these other strands, artistic strands, the visual side,
Yeah.
the kind of movie side, and all of this. So, how important artistically, but then
Hmm.
also like commercially, is this sort of like the merch side of things for you?
Yeah. Um, I think it's a package. I
Mm,
think when I like listening to music on physical stuff on vinyl or tape, CDs, and even if I listen a lot of music in Spotify and other streaming service, but I think it's an extended display of the universe of the band, sort of that thing, and it's really compelling to know that a band has a universe in itself, and you can dive in it and completely understand, try to understand what is the word of the band, and for myself, I really love the mesh stuff of the the T-shirt of the movies and the posters of the movies and music. I have several at the on the background, and I think for me it's natural to think about these things because I like this in other bands too. So, and it's pretty cool, and I think we need the tangible objects to really appreciate the music. I don't know. Let me elaborate that.
I think from what you've said so far, I completely agree with you, but by
Yeah.
all means, elaborate.
Mm. Um, you can listen to a certain song of music of composers, and you can, of course, dive into the music in itself, and it doesn't need other things to be complete in a certain way. But all my memories, and because maybe because I'm 35, 36, so I grew up with CDs and VHS and vinyl. So and at the time, uh, I really I really liked just sitting in my room when I was young and play a CD and read all the booklets.
Yeah.
Look at the artworks and everything. And at that time, I would do anything to learn more about the band that I listen. So I bought the other CDs of the band, and when the internet came, I will do some research concerning the bands on the internet, what the members did before, and etc. So for me, it's always the physical stuff. It's a mark of nostalgia. I don't know, but I look at the Swan posters behind me. Uh, I look at this and it reminds me of the music. I imagine the music when I look at the poster. So I want to take the vinyl of the shelf and listen to the album. And
Yeah.
I think this kind of relationship of between the object and the music and the art, because the music is the art, but uh, there are artists who did the covers of the album too,
Yeah.
and it's art too. So I think it's a collaborative art,
Yes.
maybe.
And I think, like, extending from what you've said there,
Yeah.
I have like basically the same feelings, I think. And when I go over and I pick up a record and I've got that Swans record, that's The Great Annihilator, right?
Mm.
Yeah, I've got like the various different posters from them.
Yeah.
Um, it's like if I go, okay, I'm going to listen to The Great Annihilator and I stick
Mm.
it on, now it's on and I'm listening to it and I'm
Yeah.
invested in it. If I go onto Spotify, which is, it's great, like it's great to have that
Mm-mm-mm.
convenience, but I feel like psychologically, it's much easier just to go,
Oh yeah.
okay, I'm bored. Now I'm going to switch. Now I'm going to switch. It doesn't feel like the same kind of investment of my energy.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you, because I think it's when we are on the computer, and I'm on the computer for the most day of of my life because I work in the computer stuff. So, and it's like a hypertext link. You read something on Wikipedia, and there is a link. You don't finish the article, but you have clicked on the link, and and you do this forever. For, and you never finish something,
Yeah.
and it's really easy on Spotify to do the same thing.
Yes.
Uh, you listen a song and oh, okay, it's Spotify recommend me this song, so I will listen to that and that. And that. So it's a mix of active and passive thing, I think, on Spotify. And with the physical stuff, the CD or the vinyl, you have to be active to put the vinyl, and but it's on, and you can stop it um, or change tracks, etc. But like you say, it's involvement. I want to finish the record as soon as I put it on the table.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I want to ask you about the label,
Yeah.
No Good to Anyone. And you already answered the question I'm about to ask you
Ah.
when we did the interview before, but I'm going to ask you anyway, in case
Mhm.
people haven't read that. Tell me about where the name of the label
Ah.
comes from, and also when did you found it and why did you decide to start the label?
Hmm. Um, I had another label before that, No Good to Anyone, called Sunrin Records, and we released with two friends all of Wheelfall album um, until Glasrew Point, because Atrocity Reports was released by Apathia Records. And when we recorded the last album of Wheelfall, I wanted to release it by myself in my label, but Sunray Records, the two other people were not in my life. They are in a different city and continent for one of them, so we did not have the time to to pursue Sunrain Records, so we stopped it. And so I founded No Good to Anyone all by myself that time, and the it was again a punk ID, because I really like Discord Records, the label of Fugazi and Ian McKay, and the same with Neurosis recording for Neurosis, and it was that thing that time I want to be able to release my music by myself, exactly what I want, and I wanted to release other bands too,
Mm.
uh, because I think I listen a lot of music, and maybe I can found this band um, to market it
Hmm.
correctly, because I listen to so much of music. I think I may be relevant in that thing. So at the beginning, it was not named No Good to Anyone. It was named Floor 25. I don't know why, but um, I named it like that. Ah, yes, I remind. It was Floor 25 because it's in the novel by James Graham Ballard, um, I Rise.
Yeah.
There is something at the floor 25 of the building that changed the story. So it was the thing. And when the album No Good to Anyone by Today is the Day was released, uh, I was so in love with that name, No Good to Anyone. It was perfect for me. So I thought about this name for the label, because I did not release anything um at the moment, so I uh, I could change the name, and that was that. Later, some months later, I think, I wrote to Steve,
Yeah, Steve Austin.
Steve Austin, of to Today is the Day, from Today is the Day, and I told him I name my record label after his album, and he was very happy about that. So I think it was that.
I interviewed him
Yeah.
a few weeks ago. It's not gone online yet. It was
Ah.
actually hopefully I'm going to get the chance to talk to him again. It was just
Hmm?
talking about his forthcoming solo record. I don't know if you
Yeah.
know he has this like bluegrass country,
Hmm.
outlaw
Yes.
country album coming out. He was amazing. It was like talking to some kind of spiritual leader. I was just like, it was like the light was shining down on me. It was such an amazing experience. So I was very happy.
Yeah. I understand this. I want to I want myself um to to s- to talk with him for sure in real life. And I think I would have feel like you
Yeah, he's
because
a really
he
inspirational guy.
yeah uh, all these albums are fantastic. I Some albums are less interesting than others, but the the whole work is absolutely amazing, absolutely awesome, and Sadness, this album, this double album
Yeah.
again was an inspiration too. The sound of his records are so unique.
Yes.
I like this thing about him that the drums have to be very natural and processed in a way in a very unique way, and I can recognize these drums listening at a blind test.
Ah.
It's so unique, even in the Lamb of God album that he produced.
Hmm.
Uh, these uh, these drums are so raw that that it makes the album very uh, weird. And I'm not a big fan of Lamb of God, but the first album that they did were very impressive when I discovered them in high school. So, and this album in particular, I don't know what the name of the album, but uh, when I listened to it, I said to myself, "But what is this sound? Why, why do something like this? Because it's uh, it's it's not beautiful. It's really raw, but you can sense the passion of the guys making the music,
Yeah.
and I think in Today is a Day, it's all about that. It's all about the emotion of the band, of the instrument, of the singer, of and it's absolutely unique, and it has we need bands like that to exist. I think.
I 100% agree. Well, talking about important people that need to exist,
Yeah.
we need to talk about Steve Albini.
Ah.
And I want to tell you a very quick
Hmm?
story which connects, for me anyway, it connects me and Steve Albini and you.
Oh.
So a few years ago, I had this idea that I wanted to write a book.
Yeah.
And I wanted to write a book that would be an exploration of DIY music. And the idea I had was I would travel around, let's say, for example, like I'd find six different people
Hmm.
and I'd spend time with them. And they could be in different countries. Maybe there'd be like a record label owner, there could be a guitar player in one country, there could be a producer in another country. And I'd ask them all about like the different aspects of making music
Hmm.
in this day that are like necessary, important, the obstacles, like
Mm.
how you can distribute, like having to be international, the importance of social media, all these things. And when I was thinking about how I wanted to make the book, I thought I'll have this like personal thread in the
Mm.
story, and the personal thread will be about me making my own music, and that I have this ambition that one day I want to record with Steve Albini.
Mm.
And when I was thinking about the different people that I could talk with and spend time with, one of them was you.
Mm. Thank you.
And so it's a personal kind of satisfaction that I have, even though,
Mhm.
I'm not in France, but to
Yeah.
be able just to talk to you, I'm like, whoa, at the very beginning, this was one of my ideas. And now here I am, I'm talking to you. Obviously, now I'm never going to get to record
Mm.
with Steve Albini, but in a way, it makes me feel all the more motivated because it's like the spirit of what I want to do,
Yes.
I feel is attached to him because he is, to me, one of the like most important figures when it comes to DIY music. So I'm wondering, you've talked about Discord, you've talked about
Mhm.
Neurot. Tell me a little bit about what Steve Albini
Yeah.
means and what he meant to you.
First, you have to do this book. It's a really great idea, and I think you have a lot of interesting things to say, and so I hope that one day I will be able to read that book.
Well, thank you. I will. The more people I tell I'm doing it, the more I have to do it.
Yes, yes, yes. And Steve Albini, honestly, yesterday when I read that he was found dead, it was a shock. The same shock for me as Scott Walker and David Bowie before. Um, Steve Albini is one of the most important figures, like you said, of DIY, and just an inspiration for me too. He had a really strong ethic about what he does and why he does what he does. So, and it was an inspiration. The way he can say, I produce you, but I produce the artist, but I want the artist to express itself, himself. I don't know themselves
Mm.
without having an interaction or an influence on them. It's and to have the pure thing, the pure thing the artist was thinking. Only that is astonishing, and it's a simple idea, but uh, it's so rare. I think it's very very rare to have someone that can say, okay, this is my studio, and this is all these analogic stuff that cost a million, and say, okay, do your thing, and I can erase myself of the equation and only serve the band. And he was right. He was absolutely right. And there is this part of him where he he does not want have royalties of the In Utero album from Nirvana. I understand that. I understand that because is it's honest and say and it's all I aspire um, being a musician
Mm.
and evolve and to evolve in this music business. And his bands, Big Black and Shellac, were Big Black, of course, were an immense influence of on my sound and what I did and why I did music.
And funny
So
also.
hmm?
And also funny.
Yes, indeed, indeed. And so in the end, all converge on the same thing. And I was able to see him play live with Shellac only one time, several years ago, and it was extraordinary for myself. And at the end of the show, they did this thing where they don't have a merch table, but they just sit on the edge of the stage with a box full of t-shirts, and you can talk to them and just talk and buy a t-shirt or something, but it's on the stage. It's for the public, the audience, and there is this feeling of we're in this together.
Yeah.
And I think that it's very, very important. Us, the band, we are not better than the men and the women and in the audience. So I think Steve Albini really encapsulates all these things, all this punk ethics and the professionalism and the in the sound, in his bands, in what he says.
Yeah.
It's really everything.
Yeah.
So it's hard. I think it's hard to not know Steve Albini when you are interested in punk and DIY ethics and all of that stuff. He is so important and he is he is the DIY ethics finally.
Yeah. 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 An
He
incredible
is
example.
he was, but bon.
He's out there in the universe somewhere. Fabian, I don't want to keep you too much longer. It's been great to talk to you. Have you got time for a couple more questions?
Yeah. I've got time.
Awesome. So I did just want to ask you, like on that topic of the kind of production, the recording side of things, how active have you been and how active are you with your different musical projects, whether the bands that you've been in or maybe the bands on your label as well?
Yeah. Starting with the label because there is not much to say. Recently, with the label, I put not a stop, but for 2 years, I released some bands, etc., with my very small kind of label. And last year, I wanted to focus more on my family and the stuff I was into at work and the new band, etc. So I decided to not really put on hold the label, but just slow down
Yeah.
a little bit, and I think I will start again to release something in the near future. But no, it's a little slow down. So and so I have now only one, but it's sufficient. No, so I have this war, and like I say, I'm really happy about that. We record the first album nowadays.
Oh, you're
This year,
in the process of making
yes,
the album.
we're in the process, and I think it's gonna be really really great for those who enjoy this kind of music. So I really can't wait to release this thing. I don't know if I will be releasing this album by myself. I think I want to have another label with me for this one, because why not? And it's um, it's less work for me.
Mm,
Put it simply, it's less work, and I want to reach more people too.
mm,
So I want to. I really want to keep the thing do it yourself, because in this war, our drummer Gorgor eh, has a recording studio. And this recording studio, we record everything with him with Wheelfall. So we and we play together in another band called Phazm.
mm-hmm.
So this recording studio is only for us currently. So we can record by ourselves, make the mixing the record by ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and after release it or not by ourselves. So we keep a part of DIY in that thing, because I think it's really important. I can't do things that I am too disconnected. I like this side this craft side of music, that you have to put your hand into it and try some stuff about the mixing, and just experimenting again, but less experiment than in Wheelfall, in the
Mm.
of course, but we like to keep it simple and do it yourself, and so that's
Did
it.
you work with other like engineers, producers, etc. in the past, and you gradually like picked up the skills, or like how did you get to the point of being comfortable
Yeah.
doing that now?
um, the really first extended play by Wheelfall, from the blazing sky at dusk, it's the first thing I did in music, in terms of release or album. And this one, we did it all by ourselves. We recorded the guitar in the basement of our parents' house, um, and the bass, the same thing. And I I mixed the whole tracks. I mixed everything on my computers, my lame computer at the time, and I had no idea what I what I did. No idea at all. But I mixed the thing. I mastered the EP, and it was something I found very funny, to be honest. And even if it's not perfect at all, it's not perfect. The sound is all over the top, all over the place. But it was cool to do that, and we kind of repeat the process,
Mm.
but with Interzone, the first album by Wheelfall, we met Gorgor, the actual drummer of Death War. And at the time he has a studio. He has a studio, and we rapidly became friends. So naturally, he said to us, do you want to use the studio, and I can do the mix and the master, etc. After that, it was really something almost like a family. In Wheelfall, we did everything with the same persons each time. And talking about Wheelfall, we it was maybe for Atrocity Reports. I think it was mastered by. I'm really sorry. I don't recall the. I have a record just
Ah,
beside.
the
So
information is there.
yes, James Plotkin. And James Plotkin,
That sounds familiar.
yeah, he was in the band All Lady Drivers,
Yes.
very old band, industrial grindcore band kind of stuff, and he mixed a lot of things, a lot of heavy stuff like Sumac, Canate, so
I
these sort
knew
of
that there
things.
was a Canet connection. Yes, that all makes sense.
Yes, and he played also in. I think he played in GNAW.
Yes, that also, for some reason, I remember I was like trying to piece all the different
Yeah,
bands around Canet together, and I remember that
ouais,
as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was that, and I contact him to do the master, and after that, all the stuff I released with Wheelfall was mastered by James Plotkin because he's a great guy. I never met him in person, but in emails, he's a really great guy with great taste and in music. So it's all that is important to me. And that's it. The last album of by Wheelfall, I mixed the album, and voila. In in this war, because of Gorgor being in the band and recording ourselves, we kind of mix together. He do the most important things, and and sometimes I help him for some stuff, but he do the majority of the mixing, and I'm here to participate to help him. So I really like to have an incidence on how we sound,
Hmm.
because when we are on stage, obviously I decide we decide uh, how we uh, how we sound. So I think it's important on the album to have this feeling that it's not too far off the thing you can listen at a gig.
Yeah, that makes
Even
sense.
if I think on on the Willful album, the sound were not really exactly what I think it will be at the time,
Hmm.
but it has its charms. So
Yeah,
it's a photography of a moment. I don't
not everything good needs to be planned.
exactly.
So, Fabian, thinking about what's coming up, so you've mentioned now that creatively, deathcore
Mm,
is your focus. You're
yeah,
working on the album.
yeah.
For people who want to follow what's going on,
Hmm.
what's the best way for them to do that and to keep track of deathcore?
I think the best way is I'm pretty active on Instagram with the page of the band, Deathcore Band. We have an official website, so outside of all social networks, and I
Yay!
think it's a good thing because the social networks is such a uh, it's such a not a problem because it's an opportunity, but also a lot of problems too. A lot of opportunities, a lot of problems, a lot of work, and lot of people, lots of people.
Yeah.
So I think it's important when Instagram or other platform will totally disappear. We have a website, deathwarband.com, and it will still be there. Yeah, I think it's important because, like me, I think you have experienced MySpace at the
Hmm.
time,
Yeah.
and MySpace was super great at the time for discover to discover a lot of bands and the underground. But MySpace doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. It's all gone.
So yes, we have to move on, who exist outside of social networks, and it's pretty cool to have that.
Again, as with several other times in this interview, I 100% agree with you.
Thank you.
And Fabien, on that note, it
Yes.
has been a great pleasure. Thank you so much for doing this interview with me.
Thank you a lot to you, because I know we spoke in the past for interviews by email, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you, and talk with you on person,
Yeah.
with the cameras, but it's a it's a it's a pleasure, really. So thank you a lot, and I hope that my English was not that bad, because it's hard.
No, and I really, really appreciate that as well, because I always feel like a bit guilty when I'm talking to someone and English is not the first language. It's like I'm forcing you to step into my world. So I really appreciate that you made the effort for that. And I think it'll be great for people to, people who don't necessarily speak French, who can actually get to hear from you in English.
Absolutely. It's why I wrote in English in the song, because I love French language. Obviously, I really like how we sound, etc. But in the context of music and to reach other people, I want to reach as many people, and I know that for my taste in music, a lot of people are not in France too. so,
Great.
so like you, so I have to speak English. I think it's normal, and I think I need to work more on that. But it's a pleasure.
Well, be very happy to do it again sometime in the future.
Yes, of course. Thank you a lot.